All right, welcome to the situation update for Monday, January 17th, 2022. And this is Mike Adams here, your host. I had the best time yesterday because I spent the day off the internet in nature harvesting shikimic acid from loblolly pine needles. And I'm going to play a little video for you here about that. And so that was just the best time. I was just out in the middle of this pine forest with all the pine needles and all the amazing smells and the negative ions in the air and just nature all around. Loved it. And I got to film a bunch of videos and harvested a couple of bins full of pine needles. And those pine needles are being extracted using an ultrasonic extraction machine with water. And we are sending that to the lab for validation of the shikimic acid. And then we're using that for a new personal care product line that we're going to be announcing at some point here that literally uses loblolly pine needle extract. Pretty cool stuff. But I had a great time doing that. And then I filmed a video about our just monster lettuce that's being grown in this suspended net pot non-circulating hydroponic system. And you're just going to love this video. I'm going to play a minute of that for you as well. In fact, let me just play a couple of minutes of these videos for you so you can see what I'm talking about. First, let's start with the pine needle video. Go ahead and roll. We're here in the Texas loblolly pine forest, the so-called lost pines. And I wanted to point out that these pine trees, of course, drop a bed of pine needles all the time with pine cones as well. And we've even done tests and found out that these pine needles contain shikimic acid. So this is natural medicine that is simply dropped by the trees as part of the ecosystem here. And what I want to explain is that this ecosystem is really critical because these pine needles create a bed that holds in moisture for the new seedlings, and it also provides protection from cold winter winds. In addition, for you and I as preppers and conservationists, we know that we can use this as a fuel source for rocket stoves or even pine cones as well. And then in addition, as we are doing, we can extract natural molecules from these pine needles, including shikimic acid. So this is just another case here where Mother Nature has provided, medicine, a sustainable ecosystem, a source of fuel. We need natural harmony with the ecosystems that God and Mother Nature has given us. And that's what you're looking at right here. We simply have to be wise enough to recognize what's here. All right, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. There's more. You can go to my channel on Brighteon.com. The channel name is HR Report, and you can see the rest of that video. It's only a couple minutes total. Now, let me play, a minute or so from the monster lettuce video. The hydroponic lettuce, it's going to blow your mind. Check this out. And remember, this is grown without any pumps, no electricity, no artificial lights, no soil, no weeds, no electronics, no electricity, nothing. Check it out. All right, folks, this is going to blow your mind. Mike Adams here with naturalnews.com. So these lettuces, which are enormous, I mean, look at the mass of lettuce that's growing here. These were grown in a non-circulating suspended net pot hydroponic system. You'll recognize the bin, and you'll recognize these little net pots. I mean, it's a little tiny pot, 2-inch pots. And this was grown without using any pumps whatsoever. It was grown in a small greenhouse with no artificial light, no electricity. This is red oak leaf lettuce right here, by the way. And this is a type of romaine. And I don't know the official name of this stuff, but it's beautiful. But here's the thing. This is the second growth. So the first time it got big, we cut it off and harvested it and made delicious salads. And then it grew back like this. I mean, you talk about free food. And let me show you the root mass under here, if I can. There's some of the roots growing in the system. And these plants are super, super happy. And we have not added any nutrients since day one. The only thing that we've added is water. literally just water. It's just, I mean, people, nobody needs to go hungry in this world. Nobody needs to starve. Nobody needs to have a lack of food or a lack of medicine or anything of the kind. This technology, which is known as the Kratky system, suspended net pot, non-circulating hydroponics, and that we've used for our food rising mini farm grow box. This system grows food for everybody without using any electricity and with almost no maintenance. So what'd you think of that, folks? Isn't that just fun and amazing? And just, I tell you what, it fills my heart with joy to be able to spend a day in nature teaching about food and medicine and being outside, being in the sunshine, and growing food and looking at ways that people can live sustainably. And blah, it's like, you people suck. You know how you make the world a better place? You do something that's low tech and simple and low cost, and you share it with everybody, and then everybody's uplifted. Everybody gets healthier. Everybody gets more food. I have the complete opposite philosophy of what these greed-driven pharmaceutical companies are all about. Just the complete opposite philosophy. My philosophy is about teaching people to live well and to live with abundance and to do it just simply, affordably, low tech. And look at that. By the way, the rest of that video on the lettuce is on my it's on my channel on brighteon.com. So it's about 3.5 minutes total. But the lettuce is gorgeous. And by the way, the reason I filmed that is because I just wanted to eat that lettuce, and I thought I should film it before I cut this down, So I had a giant salad, a salad so big it filled up a big like stainless steel mixing bowl. That's what I use as my salad bowl. I was just chowing down on this lettuce like you can't believe. And by the way, I didn't kill the plants. I mean, I cut them off at a few inches above. It's going to be interesting to see what they do now. But yeah, I harvested a lot of that lettuce and then just had a great time eating it, which is the whole point. And there's no reason why everybody can't do this. We don't have to live in a world where you get like beat up, crappy looking lettuce in a centralized grocery store with air conditioning and artificial lights and everything. We don't have to live in a world where we get our money from a monopoly controlled central bank that uses their monopoly on money printing to ruin all of us and loot our pockets and steal from us. I'm all about decentralization, and food decentralization is the key to human sustainability, abundance, and health, and all the things that I think really matter in our world, because you're growing medicine at the same time that you're growing food. Flip that whole system upside down. We have to decentralize, and we have to allow the good to rise to the top. And it wouldn't really be the top, because now we have to get away from that pyramid structure with the all-seeing eye on top, like on the back of your dollar bills. We don't want a pyramid. Tired of the pyramids. We want distributed knowledge, distributed technology. I mean, liberals like to talk about equality and social justice. Hey, folks, real equality is not something that the government hands out to everybody and controls everybody. Real equality is decentralization of knowledge so that everybody can grow food. Everybody can create money, in the digital realm, for example. Everybody can learn something. Everybody can contribute a skill. This is real, quote, equality. This is real social justice, that everybody's got the same shot, because knowledge is widespread, which means we got to get rid of censorship. No, the real answer is decentralization, distributed knowledge. So really, getting back to the beginning here of today's podcast, the reason I had such a good time yesterday is because I spent the day in nature and also educating, sharing knowledge with people that helps to create truly a better world, not in some bogus corporate sense where Moderna says, oh, we created a better world because we saved millions of lives. No, you didn't. You're killing millions of people. I'm talking about creating a better world where we don't need profits. We just need knowledge to be shared. The sharing of knowledge can change our world. And, come to think of it, that's why I built Brighteon.com. That's why we have these platforms, Brighteon.social, Brighteon.tv, and now BrighteonRadio.com, because it's about sharing knowledge. Why am I in the platform building business? Because I believe that knowledge will be revolutionary to the future of humanity. This is our answer. This is the way out of the tyranny. And, there's a reason that the tyrants need total censorship and deplatforming control and to try to criminalize speech that they don't like, because they are anti-knowledge. Google is an anti-knowledge search engine. It's about destroying knowledge or impairing your ability to connect with knowledge. And, we could just go on and on and on. The news, mainstream news industry, it's not about news. It's about fabricating hysteria, running psychological operations, using your neurology against you, weaponizing your perception of reality in order to achieve the goals of the governments of the world, which are literally now trying to kill you. Or maybe never rebuilt, actually. After this coming collapse, maybe we just never rebuild that and instead just say, hey, all medicine is available to everyone. Use what you want. Whether that's herbs or homeopathy, or maybe you want pharmaceuticals, or maybe you want to use cannabis. Maybe you want to use, I don't know, what are some different types of medicines? Maybe you want to use chlorine dioxide. Maybe you want to use colloidal silver. Maybe you want to use apitherapy. Huh? You heard about that? Bee stings. Yeah, it creates inflammation. It's kind of like an acupuncture. Hey, you know what? There's all kinds of different systems of medicine out there. Why can't people be free to use the system they want to use? So I'm having a kind of epiphany in all of this. Over the weekend, I made all kinds of notes about all the crazy crap happening in the world. And I'm probably going to go into a little bit of it here. But I just feel like, I was listening to a lot of scripture as well. And, Jesus talks so much about the way God judges or decides whether you enter the kingdom of heaven is not based on your words. It's based on your actions. It's based on how you behave, what you actually do. You can talk Jesus all day long, but if you're a jerk in your life, in the way you treat people, and you're greed driven, and you're just a corporate greed guy, but you claim to be saved, guess what? Doesn't count. God does not know you if you behave that way. And so I kind of thought, what would Jesus be doing in our time right now if he were here today? And I'm thinking, would Jesus bother doing a podcast talking about all the horrible, crazy crap going on? Probably not. You know what Jesus would probably be doing, at least in my view? He would be demonstrating the kind of life that people should lead, to be in alignment with God. Jesus would be doing the kinds of things that I love to do. Jesus would be growing food. Jesus would be harvesting herbs from nature. This is just my guess. Obviously, I can't speak for God, but this is just my assessment. Jesus would be living a demonstration of the kind of life that is espoused by God and the scripture. And I thought, we need to be more Christ-like in our lives in every way we can. And I don't think that it's going to get much traction long-term for me to just continue to warn everybody how insane things are getting. Yeah. And so I'd like to announce here today that my intention, now how well I can carry this out is anybody's guess, but my intention is to focus a lot more on teaching and demonstrating and teaching the kinds of things that you know me for, teaching about food, how to grow food, how to harvest food, how to make food, but also about how to be more self-reliant, teaching about survival and preparedness. And yeah, sometimes it can be self-defense with firearms. And I think if Jesus were living today, he would still be in favor of self-defense as he was, a couple thousand years ago. Sure. But that wouldn't be his focus. It is not my focus. I would rather that we live in a peaceful society and we can all focus on creating abundance and wow, it seems. But whatever. I don't want to spend the rest of my life talking about what's wrong in society when there's so much opportunity to demonstrate how we can live in a way that is more joyful and more abundant and more in alignment with Christ and can get us through this craziness. Now, just to be clear, I'm not going to be blind to the problems in our world, and I'm not saying that I won't ever talk about them, but that can't be the focus. We've got to focus on how to live. We've got to focus on sharing the knowledge. If I spend all my time talking about that, number one, I'm not happy. And number two, I'm not getting I'm not getting the other videos done that are going to teach you how to grow food. And it's a simple choice. And today I've made that choice. I'm going to shift my focus. Now, it's interesting that today is Martin Luther King Day, and I think Dr. King would very much agree with this assessment as well. I guess here in one podcast, I'm assuming what Jesus would do and what Dr. King would do. But hey, it's my podcast. I'm free to do that. But I do sincerely believe that Dr. King would say, hey, if we want to live in a world that's more just and more fair and more equitable and rooted in more of a Christ-like philosophy, then we've got to be the change. We've got to focus on solutions. We've got to teach and educate, but more importantly, we've got to live our lives in demonstration of the philosophies that we espouse. It's not enough to just strike out at others and say, oh, that person's bad and that action was bad and look at what that person did. Oh my gosh. When, if we have faults in our own lives, maybe we should work on us first, right? Simple biblical concept, and I get that. And if we demonstrate ourselves in more meaningful ways, how to be healthy, how to be self-reliant, how to be compassionate, how to live in harmony with our world and all the natural medicine that's all around us, which is in the plants and everything, then I think that idea spreads. And then that becomes the sharing of knowledge, and it indirectly tears down the system of monopoly medicine and so on and so forth without directly attacking it. In other words, we can make those old systems obsolete just by teaching people why they don't need those old systems. What if I taught people, 1 million cancer patients, you don't need chemotherapy? You know why? Because Mother Nature already has chemo, a kind of natural chemo, and here's what it looks like, and here's how to get your body to heal. That's what the truth about cancer is all about. With the Bollingers, they've done that for many years. But it's just an example. What if we taught people your body knows how to heal itself? It just needs the right nutrition. And you need to stop poisoning it, of course, get rid of the toxins, boost the nutrients. That would be an amazing and powerful concept. And with these grow boxes that I'm into, the hydroponic grow boxes that need no pumps, no electricity, no complex parts, nothing. Low-tech, off-grid food systems. You can grow food and medicine. What's not to love about that? What if we can show people you can grow your own nutrition? You can grow your own anti-cancer medicine for almost nothing, for pennies. Pennies. I mean, as you saw in my video, I'm growing better than organic lettuce by the pound, massive quantities of lettuce. Well, that technology exists. It's real. We should be focused on getting that technology out to the world. We should be focused on making food decentralized, energy decentralized, and money decentralized. We should make the old world obsolete. And by the way, the old world, they know this. They know that they're threatened by this, and that's why they're getting super desperate and trying to tear everything down. That's why they're running all their terrorism operations and so on, and trying to break the system and have the global reset, things like that. So by the way, there's a story today or over the weekend that I saw that it's astonishing to me, but it's a great illustration of what's going on. And, I'm not going to focus on criticizing people, but this is an important lesson. So the TV actress named Lori Loughlin, who I think she was made famous because didn't she bribe a university to get her daughter in? And I think she was sentenced, right? I think that's who that is. If not, I apologize, my mistake. But Lori Loughlin was robbed in her Los Angeles home while she was not there. She was robbed of $1 million in jewelry. And this was reported on by TMZ. $1 million, the thieves came in, let's see, they smashed a bedroom window and they got into her house and they stole $1 million worth of jewelry. Okay. And nobody knows who did it. So my first question was, who has $1 million in jewelry and why? Why? Why would anyone have $1 million in jewelry? What's going on in their mind, or really what's going on in their heart or their philosophy that makes that worthwhile? This is not about Lori Loughlin. This is about society and humanity in general. I would never have $1 million in jewelry. I don't think I even have $1,000 in jewelry. Come to think of it, I'm not into that. But what's the point of having $1 million in jewelry? How twisted is society when we have so many people who do need food, or who do need knowledge of how to grow food, or need, so many things in society. I'm not just talking about just handing out free stuff to everybody, but couldn't you, if you're an intelligent adult, couldn't you think of something better to do with $1 million than just buy yourself a bunch of shiny rocks? Seriously. Isn't it just an infantile type of childlike mentality to buy gobs and gobs of jewelry that's just, the value is off the charts like that? I'm not talking about, I get it. People have a wedding ring and, people might have a nice pair of earrings and a nice necklace just to augment themselves in social settings. I get it. And probably plenty of people have a few $1,000s in jewelry, but $1 million in jewelry? Something's twisted there, folks. Something's way imbalanced. And it's not about Lori Loughlin, it's about society. What kind of society distorts people into thinking that having $1 million in jewelry is okay? If I had $1 million in jewelry, I would sell it and do something with the money that's useful. And the kinds of things that I do: build infrastructure to deliver clean food to more people, or build infrastructure to educate people through online videos and things like that. I'm always building things that have a role in society. I'm not just like gathering up millions of dollars and stuffing it into a box somewhere. What's the point of that? There's no point. All right, but see, that's a total difference in philosophy. Would Jesus have $1 million worth of jewelry? No. If somebody gave him $1 million worth of jewelry, what would he do with it? He would have sold it and turned it into probably, schools to teach the people, or plows to teach them how to farm, things like that. Jesus would build infrastructure, I believe. Jesus wouldn't be sitting on a hoard of $1 million of jewelry. So let me say this about Lori Loughlin. I think God has given her a chance to do something different. So the thieves stole her jewelry. She'll get an insurance check for that, for close to $1 million. This is God's opportunity for you to choose a different path, Lori. If you spend that $1 million on replacement jewelry, you fail the test. But if you spend that $1 million on something that's meaningful to humanity, then you have graduated into adulthood. That's the test. So, hey, were the thieves sent by God? Maybe. Who knows? But we each have opportunities in our lives to make a new choice about what we're doing. And just as Lori needs to make a new choice, they hate all these values that are Christ-like. They hate them because we live in a world dominated by Satan, obviously. But doesn't mean we have to be part of that world. And we certainly don't want to be popular in that satanic world. We don't want to be accepted by the Satanists. No. It's better that we are rejected and that we follow a more Christ-like path. So there was something else that has happened to me recently that kind of awakened me spiritually to what's going on. And I did a whole separate podcast on this, so I'm going to keep it relatively brief. But the Tonga massive super volcano, the underwater volcano that went off over the weekend, And I'm being told there was apparently a second eruption as well. This is a very big deal. This is one of the most catastrophic events of the last decade on our planet. And it even sent shockwave ripples around the planet. Let me play this video for you right here so you can see the shockwave ripples. Let's play it a couple of times, just loop that. Now take a look at the satellite map right here of the Tonga volcano. This is an underwater volcano that exploded on Saturday, USA time. And it looks like a nuclear bomb went off. It set off shock waves and tidal waves and has inundated not only multiple islands around Tonga, but of course it reached the US West Coast and it reached Japan and the west coast of Mexico and so on. And again, there's late information right now that says this is actually erupting again. So I don't know the status of that, but we're going to see. Nevertheless, this is a huge, massive volcanic explosion that has ripped apart kind of the top half of an underwater mountain, and then the ocean water rushed in. So what I want to mention, and I feel really humbled by this, but if you go back and listen to my January 10th podcast, January 10th at roughly the 20-minute mark, you recall I had this very vivid knowledge awakening at 5 in the morning on the morning of the 9th, January 9th. And as I recorded in my podcast then on January 10th, I had this instant knowledge that something was about to happen. And you can go back to my January 10th podcast and start listening at 19 minutes and 30 seconds, just from a week ago. And you're going to hear me say that I was awakened, I was startled with this instant knowledge that there was going to be a global catastrophic event where soil would be replaced with water. And reading from my own transcript here, that seems like it might be waves, but it's more than that. It's almost like somehow there's an earthquake it's involved with a tidal wave. There's vibration of the earth, and the vibration is liquefying something. Some solid foundation is turning to liquid, and the dirt is being replaced with water. And there's a washing away of the dirt, like a mass erosion taking place. The dirt moves out and the water moves in. I got a sense of urgency from this, real urgency. Something is imminent involving water, erosion, liquefaction, the erosion of the pillars underneath the cities. And then 5 days later, the Tonga supervolcano blows its top. And I immediately knew, oh my gosh, this was what God was showing me 5 days earlier. And number one, I just want to say, and I've said this in the podcast, folks, God is real. God is absolutely real. And premonition is real. And premonition is congruent with the natural laws of the cosmos that were created by God. So God created your mind to be able to receive information. And sometimes that information, when it's a large enough event, it doesn't have to be limited by time. So many people can literally see the future or future events, and it's not a psychic thing. It's not a witchcraft thing. It's not a demonic thing. It is truly a God thing. It is a God thing that's built into the laws of the universe, because your mind is an antenna that can receive and transmit. By the way, I've covered all this in my book, The Contagious Mind. And you can download that audiobook for free. But my point is that there have been 3 times in my life now that I've received a message, and that have all come true. One time was a verbal message, words, a command actually, and that happened to me in college, and it saved my life. It literally saved my life within seconds. I would have been dead if I had not listened. And then the second time was a few years ago. I did a podcast about it, and it was a visual message, and it was about a massive explosion that I think ended up taking place in Indonesia. There was a big terrorist bomb in a food court, and that's what I had been shown, I think about 2 weeks earlier. And I went public about that. I wrote about it, and then it happened. And then the third time is this. And again, I went public with it on January 10th. I talked about it in the podcast, and then it came true as well. The 3 times this has happened in my life, and each of these 3 times it has been a very, very intense receiving of information that separates it from anything else. These weren't dreams, these weren't ideas, these weren't just brainstorming. No. These were transmissions, and all 3 have come true. You know what? Let me just play for you 1 minute of the January 10th podcast so you can hear the knowledge that was given to me on that day, or the morning before, and understand I'm describing all of this 5 days before the Tonga underwater volcano, supervolcano explosion. So again, this is 5 days before. Give it a listen. Here we go. Seems like it might be waves, but it's more than that. It's almost like somehow there's an earthquake that involved with a tidal wave, so that there's vibration of the earth, and the vibration is liquefying something. And so something solid, some solid foundation is turning to liquid, and the dirt is being replaced with water. And there's like a washing of the dirt away, like a mass erosion taking place. And it was almost like a yin yang symbol, a replacement, a circular replacement. The dirt moves out and the water moves in, and then all of a sudden the foundation of these cities is on nothing but water. So I don't know if this is a metaphor or if this is something physical, real. I don't know. So there you go. You can probably also see why I was struggling to understand what this knowledge was, because it wasn't in my mind. I wasn't thinking of a giant underwater super volcano that exploded under the ocean and blew the top off of a rock volcano underwater that generated tidal waves and everything else. But in retrospect, that's exactly what I was describing, and that's what happened. So fortunately, this did not destroy Western cities yet. It did destroy much of what's on the islands around there, the smaller towns and villages and so on, and the roadways and the infrastructure, even undersea bandwidth cables that feed major cities in Australia and other places around the world. Those were severed by this event. So it actually did undermine the infrastructure of world cities because of the explosive power of the underwater volcano. But I just want you to understand that God works through each and every one of us if we're willing to listen. And I believe that God gives us forewarning of events to come that may be a danger to humanity. It's kind of like a flashing red sign. It's like, warning, approaching apocalypse, or, approaching catastrophe. I mean, think about God's warning to Noah, same kind of thing. It's like, hey, we're going to flood the planet for a long time here. You're going to have to spend about a month on a boat with all these animals and, get to work. And he gave Noah years to build the ark, where these days, I guess things are happening so fast that some of us are only being given days warning about what's coming. I also want to say that each and every one of us, because we are created in the image of God, we have a mind, we have a soul, we have a spirit, we have a connection to the divine. If we are willing to listen, to be silent and listen, then we too can receive information that is important for our survival and for our guidance. And some people might say this information is coming from angels or guardian angels. Some people might say it's coming from God himself, or who knows what else. Maybe long gone relatives who are trying to protect you. Who knows? But there is something beyond the material world. There is a spiritual consciousness, and it is part of the design of the cosmos that God has created. And when we use that information in love and in safety for humanity, then we know we're doing the right thing. We know it's genuine. We know the source is good. Now, at the same time, you got to beware of demons, and demons trying to get into your head and pretend like they're God or Jesus or whatever. And I think a lot of people in our world, they get sucked into like demon voices and demon commands and demon possession because they like to hear the message. Like a demon, at least as I understand it, because I've interviewed people about demonic possession and so on, demons will come into your head and say things like, oh, I can make you more powerful, or I can make you more popular. And this is what happens in Hollywood with the music people. They do a deal with Satan, literally. They actually sign over their soul to Satan, and then Satan gives them literally extra talent, makes them more charismatic, makes them able to perform better, gives them, better voice performance. Look at Lady Gaga, right? She can sing, but she's all Satan, So if there's a voice coming to you or a message coming to you that is all about stroking your ego and making you feel privileged and special, and you are going to be more powerful, and you are the one that's been chosen because you're so special, then that's not the word of God, because God actually teaches you to humble yourself rather than to acclaim yourself. What was the story? Was it in, I don't remember which, was it Luke or wherever, that if you go to a gathering, a dinner party, don't take the seat of the most important person. You should take the lowest seat. Humble yourself, take the lowest seat, and then wait for the host of the gathering to speak to you and say, whoa, how come you're in the lowest seat? You should move up to this higher seat that we've saved for you, and then be acknowledged and acclaimed by the host. But you should not presume and come in and march in, stomp around, and sit down in the most important seat and announce how important you are to the world. That's a satanic trick. And so humility is essential in all of this. You must humble yourself. And even when you're receiving information like this, like what just happened to me, the dangerous path, the demonic path that some people would choose would be to say that they are so great, that it's all because of them, because they're special and they have special mind tricks and they are specially psychic and they don't need God and they don't need Jesus, and all they need is their psychic, power, superpowers, or whatever. No, that's all wrong. You are nothing but a vessel for God to work through. And if God chooses you to receive information, then you should feel honored and humbled and blessed. And then you should share that information with the world. There's even a passage in the Bible that talks about that. Again, I don't know where it is, but it's God saying, things that I tell you in the darkness, you should share in the light. Something like that. So what God tells you privately, you should go public about it. I wish I knew the actual passage, but it's in there. And I suppose you have to exercise your judgment. Is this something that other people need to know? Is this something that has a much broader application? Is this something that can help people if they knew it? But yes, don't keep God's secrets to yourself. If God has chosen you to know something, to share something, if he has inspired you, if he's given you intuition in something that you need to be doing, then follow that path. One of the greatest threats to human civilization that has ever been dropped on us, huh? How did that happen? Is that my doing? No. That's God's doing, folks. And God has a plan for you and a reason for you to be where you are as well. And if we're arrogant, we'll never recognize it. If we're humble, we will allow God to lead us where we need to be. Now, there's something else to share with you in all of this. Speaking of the Bible today, since we're kind of on that theme, some of the miracles that Jesus pulled off that are documented in the Bible? Lots of different miracles. I think the first one was turning water into wine. He's like, okay, bling, and it was wine. But there's another thing that he did, which was more practical, actually, and that was I think, didn't he multiply the loaves of bread and the fishes? I think the loaves and the fishes. Didn't he multiply them? If I'm remembering correctly, he took, there was, I don't know, one loaf of bread or something, and he multiplied it into many, many loaves so that everyone could eat. And then everyone had bread. Now, this is not far from the truth of what you can do with a hydroponic grow box system. And here's why. So if you think of this miracle that Jesus carried out, which is really God working through the Jesus body, he turned air into bread. All right, just transformed air into bread. Bread materialized out of air. And that's why you have to have magnesium and calcium in the water. And of course, the plant needs hydration from the water through the roots. So it does get some things through the roots, but the vast majority of what the plant gets to build itself comes out of the air. It literally materializes food from air. Now, it just takes a little longer than the way Jesus did it, reportedly. I don't know if Jesus just snapped his fingers or whatever. It's like, here's bread for everyone. Endless loaves, maybe it happened in an instant. Lettuce takes longer, but it's the same principle. So it kind of makes sense that what you and I do that takes longer is much faster when God does it. Or you can just build your own grow box and you can turn air into food too. You can carry out God's mission in your living room and grow your own food. I'm not even exaggerating. This is it's biblical to transform air into food. You can do it too. You are a miracle worker through the laws of, plant physiology and what God has created for us. In other words, seeds and botany and all of that. But that's all available to you for free. Yeah, you can break it down into its materialism, and that's fine. But how does all that stuff work? I mean, you can dig into it smaller and smaller. What's behind the molecule? Let's look into the atomic structure. And then let's look into the atomic nucleus. And then what's in the nucleus? Oh, it's quarks and muons. And you can look at all the particles and you'll miss everything. Because God just wants you to understand that you have the power to turn air into food. You don't need to understand quantum freaking physics to do this. All you have to do is have the wisdom to do it, to know that it works, because God's already put these laws into the universe. So why isn't everybody growing their own food? Because they've been led astray. That's why. So I suppose the overall takeaway message today to share with you is, I want you to understand that your life is a miracle. Your consciousness is a miracle. And yeah, the world is messed up down here. Satan's in charge. It's lawlessness, it's chaos, it's mass stupidity. People are freaking insane. I saw a video of students in the school are now pretending to be cats, and a substitute teacher got fired because she wouldn't meow back at the student. It's just like, okay, it's crazy. But don't let that define you. Look for the miracles in your own life. Look for the and it's easy to overlook the miracles. Don't overlook them. Respect them. Recognize them. Say, oh my goodness, we have the power really to grow our own food? Yes, you do. And the miracle of your consciousness and your creativity, the miracle to create life, to have a child, if you're a woman, to create another human being inside your body and to bring that human being into this world and then to teach that human being as a parent. These are all miracles, and there are so many miracles every moment of every day happening inside your body. The miracle of automatic repair of cellular damage and chromosomal damage and all these things. It's incredible. And the wisdom of your body is keeping your heart beating at just the right pace as you need it. Automatic adjustment system. When you need more blood, it pumps harder. Wow, you don't even have to think about it. And just on and on and on. Automatic pH balance of your blood, right? You don't have to think about that. You don't have to think about, oh gosh, it's getting 7.3. I better lower that. No, your body does it for you. You probably never even thought about the pH of your blood. It's all automatic. You're a living, breathing miracle every moment of every day. So let's all work together. And I got to remind myself too, to find more miracles in the world around us and then to share those with others, because the world is a miraculous place. And even though our society is dominated by Satan, the structure of our civilization, our world, is infused with divinity and God. It's all around us. Satan can trick us and try to take us away from God and make you watch Rachel Maddow or whatever version of hell you've been condemned to. But it's a choice. You can choose not to do that. Like Lori Loughlin with that $1 million replacement check. What's her choice? What's she going to do with it? I don't know. And maybe she's not ready yet to be someone who's more Christ-like, and she'll just buy more big fat diamonds. Okay, well, not everybody's ready at the moment that we want them to be ready. And even in our own lives, it takes us a while to figure this out too, doesn't it? I mean, I've been alive more than 50 years and I'm just now realizing this stuff. So how can I blame someone else for not being faster? You know, we got to remember that too. Not everybody's ready for this. All right. But I want to thank you for listening today. This has been a very heartfelt podcast, not my usual information, but I feel really touched by God over this last week or so. And I'm telling you, that's where I want to be. I don't want to spend my time hanging out in the world of the disgusting decline of civilization and even dealing with that. Maybe I should just stop looking at the news. I don't know. I would rather live in the world of miracles that are real and that are going to uplift humanity and civilization. That's what I'd like to focus on. So we'll see if I can do that. That's my challenge. But thank you for all your support in this journey. Of course, support us at the Health Ranger store. So tell others about what we're doing and our mission to help share knowledge and uplift humanity and survive this collapse and then rebuild a better society based on the kinds of principles that I've talked about here today. So God bless you. Thank you so much. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Talk to you tomorrow. Take care.